Hello, everyone, and welcome along to another Toon Under podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's original and best Newcastle United podcast. And joining me tonight is Craig and Bobby to have a little bit of a look through the fixture list that's just come out. So we're all abuzz about who we're playing in the first few games. The early call is it's not going to be easy, but we'll dive into that in a minute, and then we'll touch on some of the transfer gossip as well. As the window opens as well. So, Craig, how's things with you up there in Mackay?
Just been enjoying this glorious Queensland winter sun as of late. It's been fantastic. Yeah. Not a cloud in the sky, 25 degrees every day. It's perfect. See, Bobby's loving that as well.
I'm assuming from Bobby's reaction to that, it's not quite as nice down there in Ballarat.
No, I was just at the girls' netball training in about 5 degrees and it was raining sideways. So, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful we can keep off some of the rain. I'm supposed to be going on a boat trip at the weekend, and that's going to be interesting. So, touch wood, it's going to be fine and sunny, but who knows? Hopefully the sea breezes keep out the way as well, so it doesn't get too choppy while we're out there. But on to bigger and better things. Newcastle United, the Premier League fixtures for the new season, kicking off on the 13th of August, have just been released. Literally an hour and 20 minutes ago for us here. So by the time this comes out, it's still fresh off the press. We're going to put this up on the screen. This is the first five. Aston Villa first game at St James's Park on the 12th of August. Man City away on the 19th. Liverpool at home on the 26th. Brighton away on the 2nd of September. And Brentford at home on the 16th of September. Now, I don't know about you two. I'll start with you, Bobby. What are you making of that fixture list? Because to me, that literally looks like the Premier League's pulled those out intentionally to screw us over early doors.
You probably can't get a harder fixture list to start a campaign than that. It's going to be tough, but I mean, hopefully Eddie will have them prepared. And at St James's Park, so there's 3 games there. You'd hopefully get maximum points, and then you can sort of start your season with a good start. I think a lot of people, like especially in our chat, were saying, "Oh, we probably could get about 10 points from that fixture list. If we could get 10 points, then I'd start popping the champagne, I reckon, because it'll be a very good season."
Yeah, for sure. I think anything over about 6 points out of that lost lot, and I'll be pretty happy given where all of the clubs finished respectively last season. Craig, what's your thoughts on that fixture list? I mean, Aston Villa at home, first game of the season. We owe them another battering for the performance that we put in down at Villa Park. But yeah, where are you thinking we're going to get some points from in that lot?
The home games, to be honest, if we can continue the form from last season and the season before, the Fortress St James's, I don't fear anybody at home. Obviously, Liverpool, that's going to be the trickier one out of them all. We need a bit of redemption from last season as well with that 2-0 home defeat when Nick Pope had his brain fart. And that set us on a bit of a downward spiral on the run into the cup final and everything like that. But, we owe Liverpool one. Twice they've done it so far last season. Forgot about that one. And, yeah, the home games. It's got to be key, hasn't it? You think Villa, with Villa, you don't really need to get off to a flying start. You've got to get off to a winning start. So the performance doesn't have to be brilliant. As long as we can get that all-important 3 points to begin with, I'd be over the moon with that.
Oh, for sure. I think those 5 games right there, it's about the points. I don't care how we get them. I mean, there's no excuses. There's no cup games. There's no European football yet. So let's make the most of it and just get at these teams and put an early statement out there as well. Look, Brentford, if I'm right, will still be without Ivan Toney.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the problem is there that they've proven they can still win without him. So it's not a guarantee that they're necessarily weaker side without him. Brighton, we know what they're all about, especially at home. That's going to be a really tough game as well. But we do seem to match up quite well with Brighton, and it's going to be a case of, I think, who plays better on the day with those. Moving on from those, I think it's like not long after that we actually get the Champions League underway as well. So it would be nice to kind of get a few nice wins, get some confidence up before we go into the group games of the Champions League as well. And I'm with Bobby on this one. If we get 10 points out of those games, I'd be starting to put a sneaky bet on us winning the league, because that's a tough run of fixtures. And if we can do well out of those, then we're in for a good season.
The first Champions League game, sorry, Bobby. First Champions League game is on the 19th or the 20th of September, so just after the Brentford fixture. So we'll get those first 5 out of the way before we've got any European football.
Yeah, and I think this season we started with a win, but then we had a run of games where we didn't win and drew, and you could say it was a slow start for us. We can't afford that this season.
Yeah, I think that was key, wasn't it? I mean, even though, and it was Nottingham Forest, and all things considered, they had a myriad of changes to the starting lineup because of how many players they'd acquired and let go during the off season. So it was always going to be a tricky start for them. It was going to go one of two ways, and luckily for us, it went our way. But you're right. It's like it was a bit of a weird start to last season, because we ended up getting. We got a series of draws, and we couldn't win to save our lives, but we weren't losing games. But you look at those fixtures and you think, well, we get 2 wins, there's 6 draws effectively from our starting point from last season. So we could, if we get our shooting boots on and actually win a couple of games, doesn't matter if we lose a couple, we're still going to be points in the bag from where we started off last season before we start moving into some of the more winnable games on paper, shall we say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's fingers crossed for that one. But listen, the talking point for Newcastle at the moment isn't necessarily the fixtures. It's the transfer window has opened. The craziness has started. Before I touch on any of the Newcastle rumors, and there are many of them, let's be honest, I just want to go through a couple of the high profile players that have moved clubs that Newcastle have, or maybe could have been interested in at one point or another. Obviously, we put a bid in for João Pedro from Watford last season. That got knocked back. We didn't end up completing the deal. He's now moved to Brighton. It is an undisclosed fee, but you can't imagine it being a breaking the bank. I figure he was probably signed. He was probably being signed as that young forward, and the fact that we've blown so much on Isak, and him and Wilson are both seemingly quite good at playing what they're doing, the roles that they're in. Maybe our interest just wasn't there for that player. We've got bigger fish to fry and other positions to fill. Liverpool snagged McAllister from Brighton. So Brighton have kind of like broken even on that for me. I think João Pedro is probably a really good player for them long term. I think he's still young enough where he's going to improve. Losing McAllister is a big blow to them. Really good signing for Liverpool, I have to say. 35 million as well. That's a steal. Bobby, like, what do you make of that fee? Do you know if there was like a clause or something like that in these contracts?
No, I haven't read too much about it. Maybe he was coming out of contract and it was, a fee to just get it done. Brighton are pretty good like that. I mean, if they can make a player leave, they usually open the door and let them. So he's a good player, but I agree with you. I think João Pedro is a quality player to come in as well. And I heard it was Brighton's record fee amount. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, I think it was 30 million we were bidding for, so around that figure. So It just shows Brighton do very good business and, get it done on not the cheap, but pretty smartly. So, yeah, McAllister to Liverpool will be okay. I think he's a good quality player, but we'll see how they go. It's a sort of a different lineup for them, so they're going to go through a transition as well, Liverpool.
Yeah,
with a lot of players going out and new players coming in. So we'll see how that works.
Craig, your thoughts on those two?
McAllister is an absolute bargain, if you ask me. I would have thought at least 50 plus million for a World Cup winner. I think he still had 2 years left to go on his contract. I think that would have been a fair price. He's a goal scorer. He's very calm under pressure. Very, very quality player. I think the 35 million must have some clauses attached to it. I mean, which
It's got
contract
to.
doesn't these days? Yeah.
I mean, the fact they got what 50 million for Cucurella to Chelsea. I mean, obviously, yeah,
Exactly.
it's Chelsea, so
Yeah.
Chelsea overpay for everyone. But besides that, it was still, if they're going to extract those sorts of fees out of some of the other players they've sold, then you have to think that McAllister, World Cup winner, really sought after player. Liverpool were really keen on getting him. You would have thought the fee would have been more than that. Obviously, the free transfer of the summer so far, Aston Villa have picked up Yuri Tielemans on a free transfer. Now, this is a player that Newcastle were linked with heavily, out of contract. Me personally, I don't see this as a massive loss. I think he probably will fit in very, very well at Aston Villa, and I think he could be a problem there. But I just don't see him fitting into Newcastle style. His attitude at Leicester last season was a bit shocking, to be honest. He didn't seem interested. Obviously, he was already had his mind set to leave, so that could have had a little bit to do with it. But yeah, Craig, what do you make of that move to Villa for Tielemans?
Small move, keeps him in the Premier League. He is a Premier League quality player. I would have liked to have seen him in Newcastle. Not necessarily saying he's going to be in the starting 11 week in, week out, but he definitely would have been a good addition to the team. Whether he's good enough to replace Longstaff or Willock as the current squad stands, I would say he's on par with those. And under Howe, he would only get better. Every player has only ever got better under Howe as well. Plus, he's only 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's 25, 26, somewhere in there. The problem with that is I think the players, and we've seen this with Anthony Gordon, where he's been interviewed and he's kind of admitted that he knows what he needs to do. He's willing to put the work in. He wants to improve under Eddie Howe. I didn't get that attitude from Tielemans last season. And I mean, maybe it was self-preservation for, he didn't want to injure himself in the lead up to being a free agent. But yeah, he just didn't seem to have that drive and that energy. And there was one play when we played Leicester where I can't remember who it was, but I think it might have been Willock, and he literally just bombed past Tielemans like he was standing still. And Tielemans didn't even make any effort to try and get back. He was just like, I'm beaten. That's it. Too bad. To me, that's a really that's kind of like a red flag for me for an Eddie Howe type player to improve, because it's got to come from within. Eddie Howe can't work miracles if the player's not interested in actually improving. Bobby, your thoughts?
And I mean, Craig have been having Tielemans battles
ongoing debate, shall we say?
Yeah. I want to preface this by saying he's a quality player, and he might suit the way Villa play, but he hasn't got the athletic profile for us.
Yeah.
I mean, the things you're talking about, Mark, is mental application to the the hard running and the gut running and the fitness and stuff. But I just don't think he's got the athletic profile to do what a Longstaff or a Willock or a Joel Litton can do. And that's, it is what it is. That's not him. So it's not saying he's a bad player. It's saying that he wouldn't suit our team and the way we play. And I think it would have been a superstar like showbiz signing name, but the profile didn't suit. And whilst I think we might have held an interest at some point, I just think we weren't really at the races with this one because of that.
And I think that's a really good thing to see, that the club are willing to miss out on a name player that they probably could have gotten if they'd really put their mind to it and they really wanted him. But if they don't fit the picture, then why get them? And, we've seen for years now, Man United have gone out. I mean, Man United's big problem for me is the fact that they don't sign players that they need. They sign players that other clubs want to show who's boss, or they go out and sign a big name player just to kind of prove who they are. To me, the fact that we're not looking to do that, we're looking to fill profile players of the kind of caliber that we want and that will fit our team and our way of playing. I think that's a huge boost for us.
Well, it shows that you're scouting the player for your needs, and it shows that they're fitting into a system. I mean, we've been linked with a guy named Felix Nemicha, ex-City player who's playing over in Germany. He's a very athletic, tall central midfielder, runs all day, plays a pseudo, number 8, number 6 position.
Yeah.
But he is much more suitable for what we want to do. But he's not a big name player, and he'd come at, he would cost money because he's not a free transfer, but he's not that superstar showbiz name. But yeah, he's got all the attributes to play in our midfield, and he can understand that signing. So it just shows how smart we are, and we're run a lot differently now.
And it's got Dan Ashworth written all over it, given how much Brighton are doing that for their stuff as well. So on to Chris Wood, a bit of Newcastle business now. Two signings that we've managed to finish. Chris Wood is out the door, confirmed transfer around about the 12 to 15 million mark to Nottingham Forest. His transfer has been completed. How good is that bit of business, Bobby?
It's astounding by us, and it's absolutely head scratching from Nottingham Forest.
Indeed.
I don't understand what they were thinking, but Dan Ashwood must have a silver tongue, because he's been able to get what we got for John Joe Shelby as well.
Yeah, those two out the door, I think, have just been like,
he's
what,
taken
what
Forest
now?
He's taken Forest to the absolute cleaners here, and I wish Chris Wood well. Like, he was a good servant. He played his role. He just was never going to be good enough. But he came at a time, if you guys remember, where there was no strikers, so we needed one instantly. We could release his release clause to get him straight away. So that was the reason why it was all done. To a lot of opposition having a go at us for what we spent on him, but at the end of the day, it was a desperation signing. But I wish him all the best. But boy, oh boy, £15 million for Chris Wood after that, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel sorry for him because he's coming for a lot of criticism. He was never that superstar player. Yes, we overpaid. There's no doubt about it, but we had to at the time. No one was willing to sell us anyone. No one was willing to come if we could get them. He came here. He gave his all for the club in the time that he was here. He had his limitations, but never ever say that he didn't try and he didn't contribute to us staying in the Premier League. And for us to get that money back, Craig, it's like, it's basically turned that into what was effectively a panic January signing to fill a striker role that we had no one fit. And to get that money back for him, I wish him all the best. But that is a cracking bit of business for us to get that back.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you think that we signed him in January. And January is always a tough window to sign players in to get good value from anyway. You never get good value in the January transfer, and it's always tough. So the fact we paid 25 million for him, not only to fill the void, the fact that we had no striker, but also to weaken a relegation rival at the same time as well. I think that was a very, very smart move. That, to me, I think was one of the bigger points. 15 million for him again. We've had him hung out and dry for that one. Shelby, he's done a similar path. He's not having a good time with Forest. Apparently, he's already out the door this summer. So God knows what's happened there. But yeah, if we manage to recuperate close to 20 million for the two of those players, happy days. That's brilliant bit of business from Mr. Ashworth.
And it's not just the fees; it's getting the wages off the book as well.
Yeah.
That's freed up. That's freed up.
Combined,
Exactly. So that there pretty much pays for Bruno's improved contract terms, doesn't it? So that's the way you've got to be looking at it. We've got to retain our best and brightest, and if we can shift on some of the dead wood, no pun intended, but get rid of some of those kind of like fringe players or players that just clearly are past where we need them to be. And I'm not going to disrespect any of them because they were all here through the shit times, and they all gave everything they could to keep us in the Premier League. So hats off to them for that effort, and they were the building blocks, the foundations for whatever happens from here on out with us. But there comes a point where we need to upgrade, we need to improve, and as Eddie Howe says, it's like, this is football. It's like players will be leaving. Wish them the best, but if we can keep doing business like that, then I'm all over it. So on from Chris Wood leaving, the first bit of business for an incoming player for Newcastle, we've signed, actually has been confirmed, Yankuba Minte, an 18-year-old, signed for around about €7 million, I think it was rumored. somewhere around
that's
that
correct.
mark. From Danish side, Odense. But he's kind of basically being booted straight out the door to Feyenoord for the season, which is an interesting destination for him, given they're also in the Champions League next season. That could be quite interesting, but they've got a manager that plays a very similar style of football to us. It seems like it's the Brighton model of, we're getting players in, we're playing system, and we're going to get players that fit that system. This guy looks like he's got pace for days. He's a little bit kind of lacking in some end product at the moment from what I've heard and what I've read, just because he dribbles at pace with his head down. He doesn't quite make the right decisions all the time, but he's 18, he's raw, same as our mate Goransky. They're pure athletic talent that will need a little bit of refinement, but as long as their attitudes are right, then Eddie Howe's going to point them in the right direction. Craig, your thoughts before I go to our professional scout in Bobby?
Now, from what I've seen on Minta's highlight reel on YouTube, which again is always a bad source to go to, I would admit that, because again, Silva Marvo looked an absolute beast on that thing. But yeah, it's an interesting signing, because you got all these people in the know who claim they know our transfer budget of being 50, 60, 70 million, whatever it may be. We're then going spunk 7 million on a player who's not even going to be part of the first team. So budget-wise, that can go out the window for a kickoff, but he does look raw. He looks energetic. And as Bobby mentioned before, the comparison for Tielemans not being a right athletic person for the squad, he definitely does.
Yeah.
If he can strengthen up and bulking up a bit and get some first-class experience over in the Eredivisie and have a bit more game time than what Goransky's had up in Hearts, then that could definitely have a play on our hands there.
Yeah, Bobby, before we get on to before we get your opinions, I just want to mention, Garankol was, everyone says that he was hard done by, didn't get the game time. Hearts were clearly not the right destination, but he needed to go because of work permit reasons. He needed to go out on loan. He had other Aussies that he already knew up there that helped him settle. Like 18-year-old, he's literally just turned 18. First time he's away from home, like in a foreign country, he's going to need some time to settle. So it's nice to have that sort of structure around him. And, he's kind of come out the other side. And from the interviews I've seen, he's very much, look, I'm going to use this as a learning curve, and it hasn't gone well, but I've just got to work harder and keep my head going and not get too down about it. So he seems like he's got the right attitude to at least come out the other side of that, going, you know what, didn't work, but that's life, and I've got to now put that behind me and keep working towards where I want to be. So that to me is a really good sign. And if they've scouted this young kid Minte, then you've got to think that his attitude is going to be pretty much the same, where he's going to be willing to put the hard graft in, because that seems like it's a big trait for what we're looking for, as well as the size and the athleticism. Bobby, your thoughts on this kid?
Yeah, he looks very good. A season in the professional Danish league, he sort of took it by storm in his first year. So he's versatile amongst the front line. He can take on players. His pace is phenomenal. Dribbling skills are very good. So he's a raw product that we like to get in and develop. And I heard that both Feyenoord and Borussia Dortmund were tracking this kid as well. Both absolute clubs that do this really well. So we're playing a very good game now. We were able to, with our sizable finances, these are the type of kids we're going to get in front of these teams, and then we can loan them out to these teams.
Yeah.
And they already, envision him in their lineups. So it's really good. I mean, we can all get excited about an 18-year-old kid and the vision on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And but it's just about development now. And I'm really confident that we've got a system in place that will develop these kids both mentally and in their football skills to be the best they can be. And, with Garang, there was method to the madness, as you said, Mark. It was more about acclimatizing him to the UK weather, coming from the central coast of New South Wales and Shep in Victoria, which Victoria isn't known for their weather, but up there in Shep probably gets the more heat than what we do down here. So look, I think there was a method to the madness there with Garang, and he ended up after his heart spell going and play for Socceroos and being a player of a little tournament there anyway. So they both got talent. I'd love to see them in an Eddie Howe pre-season as well. So Garang, I'm excited for if he doesn't get loaned out before that, have a few weeks of pre-season under Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
That would be exciting. And with Minty Fresh, he's going to a great club in Feyenoord. I think they're brilliant. And as you said, they play a very good system of football. So I'll be watching them a lot next season.
Indeed, yeah. I want to get your opinion on who organised that loan deal, because it happened really quick. Scholler or Ashworth?
Ashworth. There's no way Scholler. Scholler was in the pictures, to be fair, of when Minty was in our kit and stuff like that. But I think, I think Dan.
It's got Dan written all over it, hasn't it?
And I do wonder, like hearing that these clubs. I think there was a couple of other clubs in it, but I know Dortmund were in for him as well and Feyenoord. I wonder if once Dan knew that in the negotiations with the agents, that he got on the phone straight away and said, "Hey, look, we're going to offer this kid a better package, all-round package that you guys can't compete with, but he's 18, so if you were trying to buy him for your first team or in having been part of your first team squad, how about we do this?" And again, I don't know if there's an actual loan fee that we got for this as well, so that €7 million might come with a little
that's true, yeah,
thing on that as well. So Dan's phenomenal in what he does, so who knows? But I wonder if that's what happened as well, that it was all organised as the negotiations with Minty was happening. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're going to have a plethora of these type of kids all around Europe, so I'm not going to get any sleep from watching German football, French football, Dutch football, whatever it is, and because there'll be a lot of interest in our kids.
I think that's what you were saying as well. It's not so much just getting excited about names, because we don't. I mean, let's be honest. Hardly any of us. I mean, we wouldn't have known about Garansky if it wasn't for the fact that we're in Australia and we're like, oh, look, it's like a local lad that's going to go to Newcastle. Let's get on board this. But we're getting all these young players on. It's not about the names. What's exciting is the prospect of having this conveyor belt of talent coming through the academy and through the under 21s to hopefully pad out the first team. And look, we're still going to sign players. Don't get me wrong. We're not expecting the academy to solve all the problems with these young talents, but it provides those top players coming through to fill out the first team, and it provides players who aren't quite good enough for where we want to be, but could probably go off to, a championship club or even like one of the lower tier Premier League clubs, and we get fees for them. And that props up our financial fair play. And we have this constant, and then we've got players that come through, we keep them. We might sell one of our older superstar players for a big fee to someone while we've got a ready-made talent coming through. And I've said it all along, if we can do a Brighton on a budget model, then we're in for some pretty exciting times in the future.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
It's for me, it's more exciting, that undercurrent, that underbelly of talent. I think it's, I love that, we can sign these youngsters and see them develop and then come into the first team. And it's a bit like Brighton. They get a player, they lose a player, they get this young kid who's been out on loan for 2 years, and he comes and he takes the league by storm, and you're like,
yeah, they've always got someone ready to step in, haven't they?
That's eventually what we'll be like, and it's just exciting. And to watch a Feyenoord game and have a play that you own, but he's ripping that up, that's going to be great. I know that a lot of Aussies were watching Hearts, hoping to see more of Garang, but I mean that's great as well. So I mean, it's all very good, it's all very exciting, and we just, as we've spoken about on our chat, that the club are in good hands. It's a different transfer window to what we're used to now.
Yeah. It's getting hectic for the right reasons rather than the wrong reasons now, which is beautiful. So before we go on to all of the rumor mill, which is starting to ramp up into full gear, which is going to be tiring, but exciting at the same time, I think. So
It's already bloody tiring.
Day one of the transfer window, and it's already draining us all, but we'll soldier on through it. It'll be remiss of me not to give Craig a little bit of time to wax lyrical about our young prodigy that has been told he's going to be kept around early doors. He's not going to be loaned out because he's not ready, apparently, according to Eddie Howe. So, Craig, let us know your feelings. Obviously, Lewis Miley, I'm talking about. He's one for the future, but obviously Eddie Howe rates him immensely to not really just want to get rid of him on loan straight away. And I suspect some of the we don't want to loan him out because he's not quite ready yet. I feel that's just, this kid showed what he's got, and I'm quite happy to keep him around the first team just in case.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm probably Maddie's biggest fan here in Australia, if not probably the whole of Newcastle. I've been raving about this kid since early last year, since he came on the scene, since he started training with the under-21s and with the first team. This kid is going to go places. He really is. If Anderson is known as the Geordie Maradona, then this kid has to be the Geordie Messi or something like that. He's going to go that step above. Obviously, not going to be Messi level. He's just the GOAT. But we have one of those players once in a generation that comes through. You got like Beardsley, you've got Gaza, you've got Shearer, all those players, generation after generation. We haven't had any of those players. Well, you could maybe say Andy Carroll if he stayed fit. He could have potentially been one of those players.
He was very good, though. He was very good until he left, got played out of position at Liverpool, and then was ready for the Knackers yard. So,
but there hasn't been a player since Andy Carroll that's really come from the Newcastle Academy or was some part of the academy. I know Shearer went to Southampton for the best part of his youth. But yeah, he could be that player that is the next Beardsley, the next Shearer, the next Gaza. And Eddie sees that in him already. And I do think if we do sign a few midfielders this season, which I think we will do, I think there will be a range of clubs willing to take Miley on loan in the Championship, purely because we've seen that 15, 20 minutes he had against Chelsea. He nearly scored the match winner with that cracking shot against the ball. He looked 100% in place. He did not look like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old who has just made his Premier League debut. He looked like he belonged straight away. And that, to me, shows he is at that level, way above, even where the likes of maybe Elliot Anderson was at the same age, or where Garansky is right now, because they're a very similar age on that one. So expect big, bright things from Lewis Miley. He's the one I'm looking forward to big time.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby, you're excited about these young kids coming through as much as we are, I guess?
Oh, yeah, it's great. And, I agree with Craig. I'm not... Craig's his dad, so I mean that's what it seems like anyway. But no, I'm excited. I think Lewis Miley's sensational talent and one we've got to nurture, and it's good that he'll be spending a preseason under Eddie because he's going to learn more from us and our system, and learn off our great squad of players like Bruno and Joelinton and Trippier and all that sort of thing, and how to conduct yourself as a professional before he goes out on loan. I wouldn't put it past that he sticks around for the early part of the season, then takes a 6-month loan to League One or something like that, just to get. I mean, he's got to learn to play against men. So go to a league where you'll sort of get roughed up a bit. It's good for your development, and then come back in the next preseason, build on that, go to a championship club, and then come back a bit. So they'll do the right thing by him. But yeah, he's a big talent, that's for sure.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he's got enough players around him with experience who have probably been able to put their arm around him and give him that kind of nurturing but firm-handed approach to his development, I guess. Like having someone like Kieran Trippier, like that's got to be good for anyone's development because he's just such a leader on and off the pitch. And we've got Matt Ritchie apparently for another season, so the player lists have been released, and there's a few questionable decisions in there, which I can only assume is down to local born players or academy products that we need to keep for squad reasons. But yeah, there's a few weird ones there. So obviously Kieran Clark's being let go, but Gillespie's being retained, I believe. Karius has been offered a new contract. Well, who else am I forgetting? Obviously, Matt Ritchie.
Damn it.
Yeah, Dan Burns been offered a new deal as well, hasn't he? So yeah, there's been a
Matty
few.
Longstaff's been booted out.
Has he? He's gone, has he? Yeah, I thought
yeah.
that. Yeah, I thought that. So there's a few ins, few outs, but the reality is we don't have the finances to go out there and buy an entirely new squad right now. So we do still need those extra squad places. And if they're from players who are part of that leadership team, why not? You know, I don't. If we get down to the point where Matt Ritchie's starting games for us next season, then we've got more problems than just having him as a 25-man squad player. We've got some serious injury issues going on. So let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Left back against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Now that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't quite get to that. So anyway, on to the really exciting bit, which is the mental amount of rumors that we have going around on the scene at the moment. Literally, I think I've lost track of exactly how many players. I think NUFC.com's keeping a running tally, and we're up to about 46 players that we've been linked with just this month. And it's like, what, the 15th? So yeah, with plenty of time to go. I'm going to start on this one, and I'm going to pretty much rule this out, given that Man City's just come in for him as well. Declan Rice off the table. You guys happy with that assessment?
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever going to happen. We were never going to splurge 100 million on him when we had other things that we needed to do. Would have been an absolutely cracking player for us, no doubt about it. But yeah. Later, and we'll move on to other objects of our affection, shall we say? Yep. So the one that's really in the news at the moment, actually, there's two big ones in the news. Obviously, James Maddison rumors are still continuing to go, not helped by the fact that Kieran Trippier and Callum Wilson seem to be doing their best to wind the fan base up on a daily basis right now. The pool table shot where there's a blue and white ball next to the black and white ball, and it's Callum Wilson, and Matters is liking it on Instagram. I kind of get the feeling that Maddison's had the Newcastle players in his ear to come and join them. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But Bobby, where do you see this one going? Do you think this is going to fizzle out again? Do you think that we're in pole position? Do you think Tottenham have got the London aspect to it? Where if you say now, where do you think he ends up?
It's a tough one, this one. I've heard different things. So 50-50 at the moment with us and Tottenham. The London thing is real. I think he's getting pressure from the Minister of Finance in his household. Wants to hang around and stay in London. It's not stay in London, live in London, go to the bright lights. But there's a lot of pressure. Yeah, do whatever the wags do. All get together and drink tea and snort cocaine, whatever it is. But just
allegedly before the podcast gets sued.
Allegedly. So yeah, I will see how that plays out. I think there's a thing with James. I've heard he's a very football mad sort of fella, and the romantic in him probably wants to come to Newcastle because he can see the project. He's got good mates here. I think every player's been absolutely blown away by the home support.
Yeah.
And want to play in front of that. So I think at the moment, I don't think a decision's been made. I think the offers are on the table. I know he's spoken to Edge Postecoglou as well, who wants to have him at Tottenham. So it'll come down to the line ball. If I had to call it now, I'd say he'll be a Newcastle player.
Craig,
good answer.
You happy with that? You agree?
Bobby? Oh, absolutely, yeah. Obviously, he's a long-standing target. This time last year we were linked with him. That obviously didn't materialise, but I do think the banter that's going on social media it's obviously not signaling the fact that he's signed for the club, but the players will obviously be aware of the negotiations or the fact that he's a wanted player, that sort of thing, and they're just giving fans something to hold a bit of a hope for. But I do think he will be a Newcastle player come the close of the transfer window. And I hope we get this done sooner rather than later. most relegated clubs do want to do that because they want to get the money in,
got to
buy the
rebuild,
replacement. But their season starts a few weeks earlier than ours, I believe. So they want to do that, no problem.
And I'll say this about players. They leave the negotiations at this point up to their agents and their management teams and everything like that. So it's not as simple as fans think that James Maddison's going to, that's it. I'm signing for Newcastle. I'm going to do this. And, whereas Callum and, Kieran, let's just do this. It's not, there's talks going on, negotiations going on, all the business side of things. It's not just about the playing, it's about the image rights and all this other stuff that come into it. And the players just go, all right, that's what I'm paying my agent to do. They're doing it in the background. Basically, what will happen is the agent will give them a call and say, all right, we've got the best offers for both of them. This is what it is. What do you want to do? We recommend this and that. So at this point with the banter, his agents are going at it. And I think the Newcastle players know that we're in with a shot. So they're just trying to rev him up and rev our fan base up. But I don't think a decision's made. Hopefully it is soon, as Craig said. I think those relegated teams get it done pretty quick. So, hopefully he's playing in black and white because I think he'll be a very good player.
I think he'll be amazing for us. I think it's exactly what we need to be able to unlock those stubborn defenses when teams sit deep against us, which was probably our Achilles heel last season. So on to the next player that is all over the news right now, and that is Nico Barella from Inter Milan. 26 years old. He's just played in the Champions League final. Plays for Italy, so he's away with them at the moment. There's talk that we're in for him for around about 50 million. Now, I would snap your hands off for him at probably a lot more money than that, to be honest. I think he's an absolutely amazing player. He could be as important to us. I think you were saying this earlier on, Bobby, probably as important to us if we got him as Bruno is to us at the moment, if not more. He is an absolute beast of a player. Does tick a lot of the boxes that we're looking for in terms of he presses, he's got a high work rate, he's energetic. I just personally can't see it happening. I think this could be Newcastle being used as a vehicle by his agent because Inter Milan need to sell, and Inter Milan are either trying to bump his fee up or trying to at least say that, hey, there's interest, or hey, somebody can get him for this. Craig, what's your thoughts on this deal? I mean, it came out of nowhere for me. I'd heard nothing about this guy in terms of a Newcastle link, but all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and seen I think it was Jack or yourself, Bobby, that shared the news that we'd approached him, and then Fab said that we hadn't approached him, but we are definitely interested. So there's two sides of the story, obviously. That's always the case. But I do think there is genuine interest there. I don't think things are as far advanced as what people make out to be. And I do think if we are going to bid 50 million, I think that's going to be like the first bit of bait in the water to see if we can tease into Milan and thinking, hold on, we might be able to squeeze a few extra million euros out of Newcastle here. And if we do, that helps our finances out. Because it's pretty much well known that Italian football, financially wise, isn't great. They get nowhere near the TV revenue or worldwide exposure that the Premier League gets. So they will take a big bid. Whether it'll be significantly more than 50 million, who knows? Whether they'll be tempted to cash in on a player whilst he's in his prime. Again, who knows? Can I see this one happening? Probably not.
No.
I think if any other big clubs get wind that he's for sale, they may come in. You got the likes of Bayern, Real, Barca. They could all think, what, we're a bigger club financially and also historically. Come to one of us. And
that's the thing for me. The guys like Inter through and through as well. He's turned down. I think he turned down a deal to Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or something last season because he wanted to stay at Inter Milan. It's going to have to be something special to tempt him, Bobby. And I just don't see us being that big draw card at the moment for that type of player, for that level of player.
The name shocked me to the first thing I woke up, went for my walk, and as I do, I get 30 minutes in and I'll look at my phone and I saw that name and I almost went, oh, that's Big Frank. Transfer window straight away. So I'm not sharing that. And it was a few big accounts, like big journos.
Yeah, it's been on Sky Sports as well.
Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. So look, I mean, there's two things here. Inter are screwed financially. They need to pay back a bank loan. I think it's approaching $300 million, or 300 million euros or pounds. I'm not too sure, but it's a huge amount of loan, and they're really under financial stress to get that done. But on the other hand, Beretta turned down Real Madrid because he didn't want to leave Italy.
Yeah,
he's a wine drinking, he loves his wine. He loves Italy. He's a big Inter fan. Loves playing for the club. I just can't. I think that's going to be a bridge too far. But I think we've put the net out to say, hey, if there's a chance because Inter need to sell, we're here. This is what we can do. This is the project. We'll see what happens. But I don't see this happening. I'd love it. I think he instantly comes in. He's our best player.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I just can't see it. I think he's got other offers on the table. So one of the other players we've been linked with is Kim Min-jae at right centre back. His preference is Man United, even though it's a release clause and we can afford to pay that as much as Man United can. And I think that kind of proves that players are still going to see some of these bigger clubs as a more favorable destination, no matter whether we're in the Champions League or not. We still have our limits, our cap at the moment in terms of what type of player we're going to be able to sort of attract to Newcastle at the moment. And it's going to be those players who are either 100% about the football and want to play for a football mad club and the fans, or it's going to be players who are kind of like that next level down and where the next tier of those Champions League kind of bound clubs that I think we can kind of snag those players. We've been linked with Kefren Turam as well. Apparently Liverpool have all but signed him, which is a bit of a shame because I think he would have been a beast in midfield. Marcus, his brother, is available on a free transfer, but I just can't see us getting him when we've got Wilson and Isak up front. I don't see us getting another senior number 9, another sort of central striker. I think it's going to have to be either a versatile striker or someone who's kind of like this, like a 20-year-old maybe that can kind of just play backup and learn from them for a season or something until Wilson's ready to move on or hang up his boots. The big one that we have been following, we've been to scout him on numerous occasions. He's been very impressive, has obviously a massive fee associated with him, but looks the business, is Dominik Szoboszlai, Hungarian captain of the national side, I believe, as well at the moment. Seems to tick all the boxes again, really comfortable on the ball, really good physical specimen of a player, good work rate, good leadership. So, Bobby, let us know your thoughts on this guy and how much you think this one's going to happen.
My number one want this summer is this guy. He's just got all the stuff you want. The leadership, the athletic traits, the football nous, the skill. He would come in and, be amazing for us. And he's a Champions League quality player. I was very confident on this happening. I've been told that he is a priority. So it has gone a bit cold, a bit, quiet on his name lately, but I was told that he's still the priority. They're just there's a lot of work to do. There's not only the fee that's going to be, about 65 million pounds, 70 million euros is what is the rumoured fee, but there's also image rights, other contracts, other fees associated with, the agents and stuff like that make this very complicated. So whether that's in a too hard basket for now, we'll wait and see. But I think if they can get done, and if there's a few things that go our way with this one, he will be looked at more favourably than even Madison, is what I'm told. So if you want an idea, he's just going to come in and just ooze class and leadership for us. Another one of those people you're like, how the hell did I know more about him? A bit like the Brunos and stuff like that. So, he's probably the one that I want the most, and I'm hoping for the most.
Craig, it's gone a little bit quiet on him. Not as quiet as it's gone on Diaby, it has to be said, who was another one of our supposed targets for a very similar position, I think. I mean, from my understanding, Soboslai does play kind of on that right-hand side of midfield slash attack, more a midfielder, I believe. But from what I've seen of this guy, he looks the nuts. Just oozes class.
Yeah, again, videos what I've seen on YouTube, he just looks a phenomenal talent. And I've read it on Twitter a few people. And Bobby, you can probably confirm this. You know a lot more about him than what I do. He's more of a modern day Mikel Merino. For when we had him as a player who can just come in, change the game, and just absolutely dominate if you wanted to. Obviously, we didn't get the best out of Merino when he was here, and he was sold after his first season, I think, because we had that stupid release clause in there. But if he is as good as or better than he was, then he could have one hell of a player if we can get that signature, you know?
He's a more rounded player than Marino. He's much better. Much better.
And he's got a cracking shot on him. Some of the highlight reel stuff that I've seen where he's effectively hitting a ball from like 40 yards out and it doesn't move about any more than about 2 meters off the ground and just until it sort of just the last minute curls up into the top corner. He does look a really good player, but again, he looks that sort of player that we're after, where he's athletic and he's got good attitude. He's willing to run for lost causes and chase things down every bit as much as he wants to be that sort of like the showboat player as well and take the shots on. So exciting times if we can get them. Now, there's a couple of other players I think that we've been sort of discussing. Arda Güler has been mentioned around the ranks. Craig, you're a massive fan of this young kid, 17 years old in the Turkish league. For around about 17 million, apparently, is what we could get him for. Looks a bit of a bargain if we opt to go in for him.
Yeah, apparently he's completed 1,500 minutes of first team football, which is activated the €7.5 million release clause in his contract. Now, to be honest, I didn't even know this player existed until about 36 hours ago. And then people were saying, we should be all over this. We should be all over this. It's a typical Dan Ashworth signing. And again, like I do, I went on YouTube and, hold on, this kid's 17. Nah, he's definitely older than that. He's definitely 25, 26. He looks like he's playing in his prime already. The kid is just, he's like a FIFA pro. You're just going around dribbling past people left, right, and center. He's what some of our players like the way ASM plays now, but he's got end product. But he's a good 6-7 years younger than him. He could very well be Miggy's long-term replacement in the way I've seen him play on the left. He's naturally right-footed as well, and he can use his left, so he's not like Miggy.
So he's ahead of the curve anyway.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a peg for a left foot, so it's all good. For a right foot, sorry.
He could genuinely be one of those players, and at that type of price, it would be an absolute steal. But again, don't judge anything on YouTube highlight reels. But he does look an absolute talent. And Bobby, you probably again know a lot more about him than what I do.
Not really. He's one guy, the Turkish league, that I don't really know a hell of a lot about. I've heard his name he's been around like as a prodigious talent for a while, but people calling him the next Messi because he's short and he can dribble and stuff like that. But something about the whole deal is a bit weird for me. I think I said this to you early this morning, Craig. He's a bargain. If he's as good as what they're saying at £17 million or euros, why aren't the big clubs coming in for him? Why aren't the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids and the Bayern Munichs and even, those sort of clubs or the Chelseas and, what's going on? What am I missing here? There's nothing. There's no talk from any of these clubs or
we lost him.
Anything like that. You'd think a prodigy of 17 years old who's titled the next Messi, and if you've seen his video clips, you'd think that he'd be unreal. But
yeah, he looks a phenomenal talent. He really does. There's one other player, Mark. I don't know if he was on your list here, but his agent has actually confirmed that we've watched him, and whether we've held any talks, I don't know. But his agent is Mikel Sylvester. I don't know if you remember that Man
Oh
United
yeah,
player.
yeah.
But the player itself, and again, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, is Desiree Dewey or Dewey. Does anyone know how it's pronounced at all?
No. I
Nope.
literally only saw this when you forwarded the message onto the group chat. I hadn't heard anything about him until a few hours ago.
So Mikel Sylvester has confirmed. We have looked at him a number of times. He's an 18-year-old attacking midfielder, currently playing in France for their first team. Whether again there's any concrete interest in the fact we'll put a bid in or anything that time will tell on that one. But again, he looks another raw talent.
Yeah, and then I think the last one I was gonna mention was Gabri Veiga, who apparently we were interested in, but Real Madrid were interested in, but Real Madrid said they couldn't afford to match his release clause or something. Yet we could, and even if it's not true, just reading that headline just sort of makes you all feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So yeah, so look, I mean, he looks a good player again. I think another one for. Kind of probably will play football now, but definitely one for the future. Would that be fair to say, Bobby?
Yeah, I dare say there's a whiteboard or something full of these names, and they're in categories and in rankings and stuff like that. I dare say he's on the first line of that. But I mean, this isn't FIFA. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to get things. There's a lot of things that got to match, and I think he's definitely been in conversations. But whether that happens through a variety of reasons, whether he doesn't want to even come to the UK, he might have a wife that doesn't want to leave, and all these sort of factors that come in that we'll see. But there's a lot of good talent, like the bloke Dua that Craig mentioned as well. I know that we're tracking him very closely, but whether we can get them and all that sort of thing's another story. But it's just exciting. These names aren't the type of names we're used to, and it's just fantastic.
No, it's absolutely glorious times to be a Newcastle fan. I think we'll probably waffled on long enough now, and we're starting to get into some of the really questionable rumors. So let's call things quits there. We'll move on. Say goodbye to everyone, and please hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're listening to us on the audio platforms. We're slowly but surely creeping up on our subscriber numbers, which is great to see. Keeps us going. We'll have loads more of this content. We'll come back with our reaction videos as soon as there's any new signings that are confirmed. So thank you very much, Bobby, and thank you very much, Craig, for joining me tonight. It's been great.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, lads.
Catch you later.
Wow.